If you're in the world of climate consulting, you've probably felt it. The ground is shifting underneath our feet. The old way of talking about climate strategy, it's changing, and that's creating a massive new opportunity. Today, we are going to unpack a whole new playbook, one that's based on where your client's money is actually going to be in 2026.
So let's just dive right in with a pretty provocative question. Is that classic net zero by 2050 pledge actually the wrong goal? I mean, for years, that was the North Star for pretty much all corporate climate action, but the data is starting to show that sustainability leaders, well, they're starting to think very, very differently.
And hey, how do we know this? Well, this isn't just a hunch. The insights we're digging into today are coming straight from a new Verdantix report. They surveyed over 350 corporate sustainability leaders. We're talking across 6 regions and 16 different industries. So this isn't speculation, this is what the actual decision makers are saying.
And what that survey makes crystal clear is that a new climate playbook is emerging. Companies are very actively moving away from those generic, super long-term goals. What they're demanding now are strategies that are way more nuanced, practical, and frankly focused on the business itself.
Okay, so if they're moving on from that old model, where is the money really going? What kind of services are going to be in the highest demand? Let's do what we do best. Let's follow the money and see what companies are actually planning to spend on in 2026. Wow, okay, this slide gives us incredible clarity. Just look at these numbers. A massive 54% of leaders say they are very likely to hire consultants for climate transition strategy. Right behind that, you've got a tie at 46% for investment planning and data management. The message here is just, it's so clear. Clients need help building a real plan, justifying the investment, and then wrangling all that data.
And this quote from one of the leaders in the survey just perfectly captures the whole mindset behind that data. The conversation is completely shifted from, we have to do this for the planet, to, how does this create value and reduce risk for our business? Any decarbonization effort has to align with the core business.
So, all of this brings us to what we can really call the great strategy shift. It gives us a super clear picture of what's in and what's being left behind. And this slide just illustrates that pivot perfectly. The old way, right? It was all about setting some distant, kind of generic ambition. But the new way, the way clients will actually pay for, is all about building a tailored strategy for their specific business, their industry, their geography, one that creates tangible value. Now, on the flip side of what's in demand, let's take a look at what isn't. Just look at this number for a second. 13%. What in the world could that possibly represent?
Well, that's the percentage of leaders who are very likely to pay for nature and biodiversity strategy projects. So this is a really crucial point. Despite all the buzz, all the new frameworks, the corporate spending just isn't there yet for these standalone nature strategies. The hype has not translated into budget.
Okay, so we're armed with all this data. What does it actually mean for a consulting firm? How do you build a practice that meets this new demand head-on? Think of this next part as your high-demand service menu for 2026.
It really boils down to these 3 core offerings. First up, strategy development, helping your clients move beyond the generic stuff into a specific, actionable plan. Second, investment planning. This is where you prove the ROI and build a rock-solid business case. And third, data and disclosure, helping them master that complex, often messy flow of climate information for reporting and just making better decisions.
But why even bring in a consultant at all? You might be wondering, why can't companies just do this themselves? Well, the answer is that in this new landscape, a great consultant is way, way more than just an extra pair of hands.
The role is really best described as a force multiplier. And this quote from a transportation industry leader just says it all. You see, an internal team member sees one company, but a consultant, they see the entire market. They bring that broader view and an understanding of best practices that's almost impossible to get from the inside.
So, to kind of sum it up, corporate sustainability teams are often pretty lean. They hire consultants to affordably boost their internal firepower, to get access to that expert market view, and to manage the incredibly time-consuming tasks like data collection and reporting. It's really about adding strategic and operational depth and doing it fast. So, we're left with one final thought. The market is speaking, and it's speaking loud and clear. Your clients' priorities are evolving right before your eyes. The only question left is this: is your practice built for their future, or is it still stuck in their past?